views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
This is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page, here with guests on Zoom. Tim Smith is running for congressman in District 3, right?
Correct.
Now, some topics I'd like to discuss with you, sir, is inflation, or what the government should or should not be doing now.
Well, inflation is a result of spending too much. And, for 3 decades, our government has been spending too much. Under Ronald Reagan, we crossed the $1 trillion debt mark. Today, we're at 34 trillion, sprinting towards 40 trillion. Most people, Patty, including me, can't even conceptualize what $1 trillion is, no less 34. But here's what I know. We've spent 1.7 trillion more in the last 12 months than we brought in. And that's just disgusting and wrong. We can't do it in our budgets at home. We don't get to charge up our credit cards with no limit, but the government does. So we simply have to spend less. And when we start spending less, that's going to curb inflation. The most recent bout of inflation occurred because of a combination of COVID spending under Trump and then COVID and infrastructure spending under Biden. Both were too much. We've pumped $6 trillion of new money into the economy. And when you do that, prices are going to rise. So we've got to curb spending. And I'm looking forward to voting to curb spending.
So what will your duties be as a congressman for District 3?
Well, I'm running to end wokeness and expand freedom. Wokeness I've described as anything contributing to the social slide. For example, puberty blockers for kids and gender transition surgeries, men competing against women in sports, the continued proliferation of DEI programs and government bureaucracies where it's not needed, like the Defense Department. But I've also learned that wokeness has permeated other departments. For example, if you look today at the U.S. Department of Agriculture website, you'll see that racial and climate justice are 2 of their top 2 priorities at the Department of Agriculture. I would think it would relate to corn and soybeans and trade policy and those sorts of things, but instead they're focused on, climate and racial issues. Wokeness has permeated the FAA. They just rolled out a big DEI program. I don't care what gender my pilot is. I just want him to get, or her to get me up and down safely. I don't care what color they are or what religion they are. I just want them to be the smartest, most technically proficient pilots available. Nothing should cloud our judgment.
That's right.
One way or the other when we hire pilots. At the Defense Department right now, taxpayers are paying for gender transition surgeries for Defense Department families and dependents. I think that's wrong. I'd vote against it. So there's a bunch of examples of wokeness in the federal government, which I look forward to opposing and introducing legislation to eliminate. On the expanding freedom side, Patty, it's all about the border, and the border. And I look forward to supporting the finishing of the wall, hopefully with President Trump. I look forward to enforcing the immigration laws that exist today. And the other part of expanding freedom is, the debt that we talked about. Our grandkids will not be free if saddled with debt. And the path we're on is terrible. So we've got to cut spending. There are other examples of expanding freedom in terms of electoral processes and all kinds of things. So you ask me what I'm going to do in Congress, I'm going to work hard to vote to end wokeness and expand freedom.
How about shrinking the government?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, when you cut spending, you naturally shrink the government. I would eliminate whole departments in some instances. We do not need a Department of Education at the federal level. Education should be local. Today, we send money to Indianapolis. I think it'd be okay if we just kept it all within the school districts. I trust the local school boards to make sure they have a superintendent and teachers consistent with, the needs of those school districts. We don't need DC, and we don't need the same involvement that we have in Indianapolis today either. Less government is better government.
So, you're running for federal.
Correct.
Yes. So you will be in Washington part of the time and here at your home.
Yeah, it's about 35 weeks a year in Washington.
Wow. So, the American dream is about hard work and opportunity, but this tax system that we have, it could be fixed, especially with inflation.
Yeah, you said the tax system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe that if you want less of something, you tax it. And if you want more of something, you don't tax it. Unfortunately, our tax code punishes success. I would favor lower tax rates across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I intend to vote for the continuation of the 2017 Trump tax plan, which had all kinds of advantages for people all across the income bracket. So, look, we can tax less when we spend less, and that's what we should be doing.
And job situation because of COVID?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's the government's job to try to create jobs. I think the private sector is charged with creating jobs, and the government's job is to create an environment in which private sector employment can thrive. The Trump administration did, the Biden administration is not. So what we need is a government that issues less regulations. I look forward to voting to repeal many regulations, and therefore makes it easier for private business to thrive. And when private businesses thrive, they employ more workers. When they employ more workers, the competition for workers increases, and so workers' wages increase.
Medicare, Medicaid, and all that stuff, Social Security. How can we preserve that?
Yeah, well, we preserve those by doing what I just said.
That's
When we
right.
stop spending like drunken sailors in all of the other areas, we can, preserve the contractual promises we've made to our people. Look, Patty, I'm 55 years old. I'll be 56 when I take office. I've been paying into Social Security and Medicare my entire life, as have you.
Yes.
When we tell people that if, because you pay in, you're going to get certain benefits in the end, that's a contract that our government made with our people, with me, with you. Those governments need fulfilled. Those promises, need fulfilled. The problem is our spending is jeopardizing all of that. So we have to get our spending under control to make sure we can fulfill those promises. I intend to do just that.
Boy. So fentanyl, what's cooking in our own state, especially for Wayne.
Yeah. Fentanyl is pouring across our southern border. Who knows, maybe our northern border too. We really don't know. It's certainly being flown in on planes where the cargo is being inadequately inspected. We know that China is sending it across our southern border, and we know that we're losing thousands and thousands of Americans, and it's tragic. And we should be building the wall for that reason alone. There are many other reasons, but that one for sure, we should be building a wall. We're allowing China, our biggest adversary, to just own us in so many ways. And one of them is they're literally hooking our people on drugs that are killing our people. We need to be more firm on China. We need to build a wall. That will help stop the flow of fentanyl.
How can we, as everyday citizens, combat this danger of these synthetic drugs that are coming into our country, killing our children? They're after our children, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I think there's two ways. I think one, you elect good people. Hopefully they vote Smith on May 7th. And two, they educate themselves about the risks, and they tell their kids and they tell their neighbors and they tell their church friends, what to watch out for.
And what do
Other
you watch out for when someone's on fentanyl?
Well, I'm
Mhm.
talking about watching out for it by not getting involved in drugs generally, much more fundamentally. A person high on fentanyl is, you know,
You never
a little
know,
different, but not that much different than a person high on other drugs.
but this
It's
one
just
kills.
much more lethal.
Yeah. Oh, man, it gets mixed in with other drugs and kind of.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. So, gangs and shootings and every day you hear about throughout the country shootings happening in school. I just hope they don't do that here in Indiana.
Well, I talked about this a lot when I was running for mayor. We have to harden our schools. And I know our local schools have done some work in this regard. I don't know that you can ever do enough to harden or fully protect your schools from bad guys. Um, but I'll tell you, and you mentioned gangs, and the topic before was drugs. What we cannot afford are candidates who have been weak on crime in the past. We need candidates. We need to elect candidates who are tough on crime, and that's what I intend to be.
You'll be working with the sheriff, Troy Hirschberger himself.
Sure, all elected sheriffs across the district.
And abortion.
Well, you and I have talked about this before. I'm as pro-life as it gets. I've been pro-life my entire life. Um, the most innocent and vulnerable are the unborn. And I believe what the Bible says, which is God creates life and we are life from the moment of conception.
That's right.
He says he knew us in our mother's womb where we were neatly knitted together, wonderfully made. That's what I believe.
From the womb to the tomb. I understand people are trying to pass a bill, I forgot his name, about suicide, assisted suicide, mentally ill. I think we're doing up in Canada right now.
Well, I haven't seen that bill, but I oppose assisted suicide legislation in general. Life is God's to take, and the government should not be helping people kill themselves. I think it's tragic.
What would you like to share with my audience? About yourself and how you can help us, Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks, Patty, and thanks for having me on. I'm a husband of 34 years to my beautiful wife, Angela. Honored to have her as my wife, a godly woman. God gave us 5 children, all are adults now, ages 26 to 32.
You?
Yep. And those 5 children have given us 17.5 grandchildren. My daughter-in-law is pregnant. And I just consider myself the luckiest man around because of that. I'm currently the CEO of a mental health nonprofit, a Christian nonprofit, and I'm very proud of the work we do.
Yeah.
And I spent 25 years helping a business grow from 200 million a year to today, that business is over 2 billion. And I own a manufacturing firm that has about 35 employees. So I'm a business person who's never been elected to office. I think we need business people. Yeah, I think we need business people and not politicians. And that's what I'm planning to do. I'm planning to implement pro-business principles, pro-family principles as a member of Congress. If your viewers and everybody else would vote for me on May 7th, I would really appreciate it.
There you go. So I would love to interview you again when you're in office.
Well, if God bestows that on me, Patty, you and I will talk and do this again when I'm in office. That's a commitment to you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank you, my audience, for tuning in. We had this wonderful interview with Tim Smith, who's running for congressman for the 3rd district. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Patty. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
will never leave them. Repent, oh I say repent, evil doors who are against mankind. God's hand will be upon those who are on earth. Repent so that you won't be left behind. Repent, 'cause you too can be saved. A touch of life was given by God. Only through Him should they die. A touch of life was given by God. Only through Him should they die. A touch of life was given by God. Only through Him should they die. A touch of life was given by God. Only through Him should they die. A touch of life was given by God. Only through Him should they die. A touch of life was given by God. Only through Him should they die. Only through Him should they
My loudest cry is in silence. My most beautiful dreams turn into nightmares. My greatest pain will not reach the ears of anyone. Not even my mother. I'll never know who I am. Only He who has made me different from all others will know me. He sees my talents and who I would become. Nobody else will ever know me. Not even my mother. Even though I have feelings, I will never experience love from someone else. Even though my heart is beating fast, how quickly the star of my life will be snuffed out. And even though I am preparing to breathe the outside air, the only breath I will breathe is the breath of death. Except for death, no one will kiss me. Not even my mother.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always for the rest of our lives.